All right, guys, welcome back. First, let me start off by apologizing. We kind of dropped the ball on some things. We haven't been putting out as much as the crime stuff, the police reports and body cam footage, security cam footage. We've just been really busy lately with different things in security and the whole crime thing that we do as far as reporting and trying to just collect information and organize it. It's been it's been kind of wild. And so we've just been busy, but we're trying to get back to it here, just to educate you and inform you of different things going on in the area in the way of crime, and then of course, obviously, to help you give you some tips on how to prevent those crimes from happening to you. Because remember, criminals don't have alternate plans; they have alternate victims, right? And so our job is to make you or help you to not be a victim of whatever crime those are going to be. And so we're going to break this one up. We're kind of just getting right in there. I haven't really looked too much at March yet because we still have stuff going on from February and January, and then we're working on some other content for you. Uh, One of those will be out either later today or tomorrow, and that is just the burglary report in the Lansing area. Okay, and then we'll do Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo, and maybe hit some other areas. It's been pretty challenging in the way of information recently. So, but anyway, please be patient. You guys know if you follow us, uh, we're relatively new, and I've just got a small team here, and so I thank you for your patience. All right, we're working at it to better serve you in the way of protection. So let's go ahead and get into some of these details. Now, remember, in prior months, you can go back and look at some of these that we've done and kind of do your own data collections on the things that you're interested in. And then if you find something that you're like, hey, I want to know about this, you can always reach out to us, and maybe we already have the police report or the footage or whatever it might be, and or maybe we'll just get it for you. Okay. So if you see something specific, because we don't really monitor all of these crimes, right? We don't monitor DWIs and drug use and charges and stuff like that unless we find something that's really interesting, which we did. Not in the Lansing area, but maybe we'll get into that a little bit later on. But anyway, um, you know, feel free to reach out about anything crime related, and if it's something that we have readily available, we will pass it off to you. Definitely not against that. So anyway, let's go ahead and look at the Lansing area. Remember, you can always go back to and build your own data points. So we have 779 records for the month of March. And again, if you're new to this and watching us, these all of these records come from four different police departments in the Lansing area. It would be Lansing Police Department, Eaton County, Meridian Township, and East Lansing. Okay, this does not include all other law enforcement agencies like the state police, Egham County, any of that. Okay, it's just those four agencies and those four agencies only. Okay, so that's very necessary to say, because some people will say, oh, well, there was, 779 crimes reported. No, there's probably more than that. In fact, there is more than that if you get into the other departments in the area. Um, this is just from those four. Okay, so when you look at this for the month, for 31 days, there was 779 records. That's pretty high. Okay. And you look back at February, where there was 600 and something, and then another 700 and something for uh, January, and you kind of just start building your own stuff, and you realize how much crime is actually in the Lansing area alone. Lansing's got a very high crime rate, period, but in the overall area, um, pretty high. All right, so we have 779 records. Again, let's just get right into it. So we're going to go back to deselecting all uh, arsons. Now, I did find, remember, if you followed us or on the other videos and you watched them, we didn't really follow arsons that much. It was starting to become a problem, but It's just not something we were interested in. I did find some very interesting pieces over the last couple months that I thought were interesting. And so we might be paying closer attention to this. We won't make it a very big priority in the way of building graphs or, any kind of intelligence or information collection on it. But every now and again, you will see us start to do something like this or with these. Anyway, there was two. Okay. Good data point. Now, this is a huge issue. Going through a lot of these police reports, typically some of the things we've seen in the past were, people fighting at a bar or, an altercation in a front yard or, you know, two people that just were strong opinions, started throwing blows, whatever it may be, domestic violence. These assaults are different in classification. So if you're new, you'll see, you have the non-aggravated assault. That can be a lot of different things. A lot of times we see those as domestics, and that's what the police report will say. Sometimes they are labeled domestics. Now, this has been a very interesting one that I haven't seen so much in years past as I do now. And if you've seen our other videos, we talk about intimidation and stalking as being an assault. Then you have aggravated and felonious assault. So you have all these different classifications within the crime. All right, and you can see the numbers are still pretty high. All right, and I would like to caution you. So these take us a long time to put out and to dig into and kind of figure out the backstory and wait for it to go through the court system and so on and so forth. You've seen the one we did where it was relationship problems, typically with kids involved, but not all the times. Parents, I have to caution you, if you're a parent, okay, or even if you're listening to this and you're a young person, you're right, you're a teenager, you're 18, you're 20, you're 21, 25, but parents, you know, pay attention to what your kids are doing on social media. Okay, pay attention to who they're texting, who they're affiliating themselves with, because a lot of these that we get into deal with minors, and there's really no reason for the escalation, and there is. And some of the things you might think that your innocent child is doing, maybe they are innocent. They're just not aware of what they're doing and who they're communicating with. Pay attention to what your kids are doing. And some of you parents will find out that your children are not that innocent. Okay. And that's okay because we were all kids once too, right? Um, I know my parents thought I was an angel and then they found out I wasn't. I was a teenager. I did crazy things when I was a kid, like most of you. But parents, I will very much strongly caution you to go through your child's phone. Okay. And if you're a young adult, you guys got some craziness going on. Okay. Some of the stuff you guys are getting wrapped up in charges and, getting the cops called on for this is petty stuff. But I just don't know how much of these assaults that we will put out, but we will definitely be making a graph on them so you could kind of see a different picture outside of what the classification is and the incident report and where it happened. We want to give you some content. And so, and different things. Some of these are just really wild, and some of the felonious assaults don't even deal with weapons. They might be someone that tried to run another individual over. Um, but anyway, so that's where we're at for the month. Parents, I just had to throw that out there to you. And if you're young, you need to start using better wisdom and better judgment because you become what you hang out with. Okay. So, anyways, especially with relationship pieces, man, it's like golly. Um, anyway, let's get back into a different category. That's the assaults. That's where we're at. Burglaries. Now we do have our burglary report. That graph is just about done. So here in the next day or two, you'll be seeing that come out as well. Notice, last month and the month prior, I told you guys to keep your eye on this area about, the Miller, Jolly, Dunkel Road kind of area, even stretching a little bit further. And you'll start to see that this is becoming a very populated area when it comes to burglary. It's always happened a couple here and there, just kind of scattered out. I would say in any given month, you could easily see 5 to 7 through here, from Waverly Road to where, 496 starts, all the way down from Miller to, Holmes. But we're starting to see a lot more than that. It seems like this might be a more targeted area. Okay. And most of the time with burglaries, and no one gets caught. Okay. And so, anyway, I just thought I just keep going right back to this interesting piece here. There was a slightly more in January with 31 or 38. That's down from January where there was 41 or 42, something like that. But anyway, good data point for you. And remember, I told you keep an eye on like this pocket right here. Okay, so we're seeing that kind of separate. Anyway, burglaries, remember, lock your doors. Okay, lock your windows. And we'll be doing something on that. Maybe you just come to a home invasion seminar because some of these are home invasions. They're just classified as burglaries. So you can see force without entry or entry without force, unlawful entry, forceful entry. So we'll be putting out some more content specific to burglaries in the Lansing area here in the next day or so. Um, so that's where we're at. Disturbing the peace, I don't even get into that too much. Drugs and alcohol, DWIs, frauds, I really don't follow too much. Here's kind of the fraud cases. Now, if you've watched some of the stuff we put out with frauds, especially when it comes to like businesses, let's see here. So we have some retail theft. It wouldn't surprise me if we went through some of these and we found out. Now, this one's a couple days apart, predominantly uh, the PM hours. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if you got into a few of these and they were the same businesses they got hit the months prior. Okay, it's really hard for us to follow fraud. Um, for one, policy. Two, the businesses that some of these things are happening to, they're really not interested in protecting their business or the employees, which is stupid. But anyway, that's where we're at. 132 records. It won't surprise me if through the summer months you see these numbers skyrocket. The only reason I don't think they will is if more businesses close, and chances are that uh, the other areas they might suffer a lot of this and be forced to close because of the amount of theft. It also wouldn't surprise me if some of these were apartment buildings. Okay. There's one interesting case. I think it's under investigation right now, currently, so we'll keep our eyes on that. That was at an apartment complex. And, anyways, so that's where we're at with fraud for the month. I don't want to get off on tangents because it kind of pisses me off. We have theft of a motor vehicle. Now, these were pretty interesting to be following and paying attention to. And remember, we talked about how they were going to go up. I think it was last month we said that. And we have 93 records. So they've been up at least by 20, maybe 30 records over the last couple months. The biggest thing I would tell you as far as situational awareness on this, as we look at them all over the state, not just in the Lansing area, we find that a lot of these are happening for minors. Okay. And that's primarily the reason we believe that these will keep going. All right. And then we have, the rings that we talked about and things like that. Um, some of the biggest key takeaways is as you're going out and about and, even in your neighborhoods, if you observe a vehicle that has no license plate, be very, very suspicious of that. Or if you see a vehicle that is moving suspiciously, especially in your neighborhood, that has a temp tag on it or what appears to be a temp tag, be very suspicious of that. Okay. And try to pay attention to vehicles that are not obvious for the area. All right. So, anyway, we're going to be doing some different things with the vehicle theft. That was a pretty big jump from, last month. I think it was like in the 50s. So this is a very big jump from the prior month, and it was a big jump also for the month of January when we're talking about having 93 vehicle thefts. Not all these vehicles get recovered. Um, you know, either way, it's costly for the actual owner of the vehicle. Okay, and they happen, parking lots, you know, not just car lots. They happen right out of people's driveways, apartment buildings, and things like that. So anyway, that's where we're at. Pretty big jump. Let's see what else we got here. Now, homicides, we did do some things because remember last month we had two. This month we don't have any. Those are still under investigation, so it's going to be a while. Then we have robberies, and we have quite a few more robberies in the Lansing area. And so we'll be putting out some of this content. Now, this doesn't give us whether they're armed or not like other places do. There's not really a lot of description. So be looking for those police reports. Some of these are under investigation, not for March, but for February. So we're still working on that. But anyway, so we have a slight increase in robberies. Same thing with sex crimes. It's pretty much steady there, just the different things. And we're still working on these pieces. There's a lot of moving parts when it comes to that. And we have to be very careful on the content we're putting out with that. So that's where we are. Larceny, there's not really anything interesting about most of these. We look into them from time to time, but 78 records, it's not a whole lot of description, just larceny, other, some from vehicles, some from a building, some just say other. So we don't really pay too much attention to them. It's not really anything that we follow a whole lot of. So if you're interested in seeing what those look like, contact us. We'll put out that content for you. Vandalism. Now, usually we don't follow vandalism. We might start. Anyway, you can see there's definitely an increase in the Lansing area as far as vandalism goes. Not a very descriptive thing. Some of them are damage to property. What type of property, we don't know. I would assume that some of these are businesses. But anyway, we might dig into a few of those just because we're noticing the small amounts that we have picked up on that have multiple reports with them. We are noticing a very small trend, and I say very small because we don't really get into these too much. It's only every now and again that we find something we're like, all right, that's interesting, and now we're finding just some different things. So we might look into a few of those. Vehicle theft break-ins, staying pretty steady. Important thing to remember here: we have 24 records for the month. Keep your cars locked. Keep valuable items out of plain view. Don't put guns in your vehicle. Okay, don't leave them there. But just lock your doors, roll up your windows, and don't put anything of value inside. Okay, and that'll really help out a lot. And then we have the weapons charges. Now these in different areas have been pretty interesting. We're still trying to get the reports together. In the Lansing area, it's looking a little different, and I don't know. It's just been kind of odd with the ones in the Lansing area. So we'll be putting these out. I haven't looked at any of these in the month of March yet, and so we will be putting that out here relatively soon. All right. So what we're going to do is we'll break up Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo from Lansing. This one will be specific for Lansing, and then you will also start seeing our graphs out on different crimes in the area. They're just going to be sporadic. But anyway, that's the scoop for the Lansing area. That's what we got for today. Let's see. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay. Those were all the crimes. 779 records for the city of Lansing. All right. Follow us on Facebook. Check out our YouTube. We have content on Patreon. Eventually, that's where all of our reports will go. Um, and we don't put everything out on Facebook just because it's Facebook. So, anyway, follow us, like us, subscribe, all that stuff, and we will catch up with you later. Have a great day.